Welcome back to the Action Heart YouTube channel. So today we're going to talk about exercise and more specifically a good warm-up and cool-down routine. Now before you embark on any form of structured exercise, a good thorough warm-up is crucial. Now often we neglect to warm up just to get into the exercise if we're in a bit of a rush, but there are actually some real key important reasons why we conduct a thorough warm-up, specifically here at Action Heart. You're not going to need anything for this routine, just a good firm chair, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment in time. So first of all, why is a warm-up important? Well, the big reason really is all to do with a heart rate. Now as you start to exercise, what your heart will do is increase in heart rate, so it's going to beat more times in a minute to push blood around the body, and what that's going to do is deliver adequate amount of oxygen to the muscles and other tissues being used. Now if you do that too quickly, obviously that's going to stress the body somewhat, so you want to take things gradually. Second reason is all about temperature. You want to be able to raise the body's temperature nice and gradually, nice and slowly, and that will lead to less risk of being injured. You think about all the muscles, all the tendons involved in physical activity, and you really don't want to place too much of a burden on those tissues. Finally, there's actually improved connectivity between your brain and your muscles when you're warming up, so it's almost like you can mentally prepare for the exercise that lies ahead. So, as I said, all you need for this is a good firm chair, which I'm going to go get now. I'm going to walk you through all of the exercises that we recommend here at Action Heart in terms of warming up. It shouldn't take too long, a good 10 minutes would be adequate enough. So exercise number one, we call this side bend. So what I'd like you to do is stand with your feet hip width apart, nice soft knees, and your hands down either side of your leg. And all we're going to do is 10 repetitions each side, that's just 10 times each side. And all you're going to do is slowly and gradually take your hand down towards your knee, just to a point where you feel comfortable, and then slowly back to the middle. You're going to then repeat that on the other side, coming slowly back to the middle. What you want to avoid here is bouncing or travelling down the leg too quickly. You want to keep everything perfectly in control. Most importantly, nice, slow, controlled breathing. Our second exercise are called shoulder raises. So you're going to adopt the same stance. It's going to be feet shoulder width apart, nice soft knees, chest up nice and high. Now with shoulder raises, all you're going to do is raise your shoulders towards your ears, nice and slowly, pause momentarily at the top, and slowly back down to the start position. We're going to do 10 of these in total. Try not to overemphasize lifting your shoulders up, so you want to avoid really lifting those shoulders up so it's uncomfortable, but it's a nice, slow, smooth, gradual movement, again with steady breathing. Number three, we call this a trunk twist. Now this one's quite a complex move, so we're going to take it in a few stages. So again, creating a nice stable platform with those feet hip width apart, knees nice and soft, but this time you're going to incorporate the arms a little bit more. So we're going to interlock our fingers. Now if you struggle with that, any kind of arthritis in the fingers where you feel uncomfortable, just place one hand on top of the other. But for everybody else, interlocking the fingers. And thumbs, you're going to place either side of the breastbone, either side of the sternum. We're going to keep our shoulders nice and lifted, our elbows raised as well, so those elbows are in line with the shoulders. And all we're going to do here is rotate very slowly to the one side. It's only a partial movement, so as you can see how far I'm turning, everything's under control and I'm not trying to spin round 180 degrees. You're just going to go to the point where you feel a little stiffness, but then pause. As you're doing this movement, try and keep your hips as still as possible. As I'm doing here, follow your chin in line with your sternum, so your upper body travels with you. And that's going to be 10 either side. Exercise number four. This is almost like a marching on the spot. Now it is a warm-up, so you want to try and lift your knee a little bit higher than you normally would do as you're walking. And the way this is going to work is, again, creating that stable base we've spoken about. And one at a time, you're going to lift one knee up towards your hip. Now if you feel a little unstable with this, if your balance isn't quite as good as it as it was, then I want you to be able to hold on to something as you do this exercise. Maybe a banister, maybe a chair, maybe a table. Something that obviously isn't going to move. And that's 10 knee raises each side. This next exercise is called a squat to reach. So for this position, again, common theme here, feet hip width apart, soft knees. And what we're going to do this time is a gentle squat down. Almost imagine you're about to sit in a chair. So it's a little bend in your knees, and you're going to push your bottom down and back as your hands slide down towards your knees. Slowly stand up and reach up into the air. So slowly down, back to the start position and reach up into the air. Now a couple of things you can do here. If you want to advance that exercise, as you come back into the air and reach, you can raise up onto your tiptoes, and that will allow you to stretch your calves a little bit leading into the next exercise. But if you're feeling a little bit unsteady on your feet, I would recommend just a squat and just a stand. Avoid the reaching and certainly avoid going up onto your toes. You know, safety's key. So we've done the first 5 exercises, and they've generally been mobility focused. What we're going to do now are 3 stretches which will lead you nicely onto the exercise that lies ahead. So the first stretch we're going to do is a calf stretch. Now the calf is a muscle that runs down the back of the leg, between the back of the knee and the ankle. And what we're going to do for this position is a nice wide stance. You're going to simply step forward with one foot, bend in the left knee, keeping the chest high, and that back leg is going to be straight. So what we're aiming for here is both toes to be facing forwards, and you're going to be focusing on stretching that rear leg. If I was to show you from the side, which would be a little bit more beneficial, it's a slight bend on the front knee, back leg nice and straight, and chest lifted. And it's ideal to hold these stretches for about 10 seconds, nice and steady breathing. We're going to do 3 stretches each leg. Our second stretch is one for our hamstring. So again, it's the back of our leg, just a little bit higher up, and this is where the chair will come in handy. So we're going to take a seat in the chair. We're going to keep both of our knees at 90 degrees, sitting with your chest nice and high. Now with one leg, it doesn't matter which leg you start with. Straighten the leg in front of you, keeping your ankle and foot relaxed, and both hands are going to be placed on the bent knee. What I'd like you to do next is slightly lift your chest and lean forward slightly until you feel the pulling at the back of your hamstring. Now everybody's different here. Some people will feel it just sitting up nice and tall. Some people will have to lean forward quite a distance to feel that. But wherever you feel that stretch kick in, you're going to hold that position for 10 seconds as you're focusing slowly on your breathing before you change legs and repeat the stretch on the other side again for 10 seconds. What you want to avoid here is rounding the back and keeping the leg bent, because that stretch will be then going into different areas. Our final stretch is one for our quadricep, which is on the front of the leg. And again, you're going to need a stable base here to hold on to as you do this stretch. So if I turn to the side, and I've got my machine here I can hold on to, that can easily be a table or it can easily be a chair in your home. What you're simply going to do is leg here, keeping one leg slightly bent, looking directly forward. You're going to bend the left knee, and you can either hold on to your ankle, or I prefer actually keeping my fingers in the back of my trainer here to give a good stretch to the quadriceps. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping both of my knees roughly level. I'm avoiding leaning over too far, and I just want to keep my chest up. And again, this is going to be 10 seconds each leg, and we're going to do 3 times either side. Now to increase the stretch here, rather than pulling your leg up too high, a good tip is to just keep the hip facing forwards and push slightly into that. So again, keep the hip forward rather than twisted to the side, and push slightly into that. Again, avoiding bouncing on that stretch. And then slowly return to base. So that's 8 exercises there in total. That'll summarise a good warm-up routine. Now you're ready to go into the gym or go for a walk or get onto your cycle and start exercising.